Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. In recognition of Sultanate's efforts in spreading values of tolerance and peace, Brazil names a square in the city of Foz do Iguaçu, the Sultanate of Oman. Israel forces raid Al-Aqsa Mosque and fire tear gas on Palestinian worshippers. And 30 militants killed in a battle with Iraqi forces when they tried to raid a Beiji oil refinery. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Abdulaziz Bouteflika of Algeria on his country's independence anniversary. His Majesty the Sultan also sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela on his country's independence anniversary. And His Majesty sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Jorge Carlos Fanesca of Cape Verde on his country's National Day. Praising the Sultanate's efforts in spreading values of tolerance and achieving world peace, one of the squares of Foz do Iguaçu city will be named the Sultanate of Oman. This initiative came from His Excellency Rani Pereira, mayor of the city, who expressed his appreciation for choosing the city to be the 40th station of Message of Islam exhibition. He stressed that the exhibition achieved its goals in delivering message of Islam to the Brazilian people. The city square will be the first to carry a name of Arab and Islamic country in Latin America that witnesses development and growth in various fields. Still to come in our news bulletin. Rolling down the hills in the Democratic Republic of Congo on a huge man-powered scooter isn't a simple task. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Israeli occupation forces raided Al-Aqsa Mosque, fired tear gas on Palestinian worshippers and chased under the pretext of stone throwing. On the other hand, fierce confrontation between worshippers and Israeli forces took place in most villages and districts of the old city of Jerusalem by end of Friday prayers. Earlier, Israeli occupation forces imposed restrictions on worshippers wishing to enter Aqsa Mosque to perform Friday prayers. Israeli authority put up numerous barriers and prevented those who are less than 50 years old from entering mosque halls in an anticipation for any confrontation amidst rising tension in the West Bank. Israeli occupation forces raised a degree of alert in the city of Jerusalem and its environment, coinciding with the funeral of martyr Mohammed Abu Khader in the village of Shafat. The Iraqi parliament's inability to agree on a new government in its first session was a regrettable failure, Iraq's most powerful cleric said in a Friday sermon delivered by his aide. He also urged lawmakers to form a new government to tackle an insurgency. Meanwhile, the Iraqi army drove insurgents out of Algeria last night as part of a campaign to retake wide areas of northern and western Iraq overrun by the rebels. They said that 3 insurgents were killed in an hour-long battle, and the main body of militant forces had fled south along with the eastern bank of the Tigris River across from Algeria. And 30 militants had been killed in a battle that they tried to raid a Beji oil refinery. At least 150 separatists and 13 Ukrainian military personnel were killed in separate incidents today in fighting against pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine. A top Ukrainian security official today claimed government troops had cleared more than a dozen down of armed pro-Russia separatists and now control 2/3 of the eastern regions at the center of the insurgency. Kyiv has struggled to reassert control over the country's industrial east, where fighting between government troops and pro-Russia separatists had claimed more than 400 lives since April. The army has been unable to prevent rebels from occasionally cruising the countryside in armored vehicles or dislodge them to the occupied town of Sloviansk. The residents of Goma in Democratic Republic of Congo use Skutu, the all-purpose transport scooter. How they do it, watch this report.
Rolling down these hills on a huge man-powered scooter isn't a simple task. And yet this strange machine, the Chukudu, is the main delivery system in the North Kivu province in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's a hard job transporting heavy sacks of potatoes or coal down into the provincial capital, Goma, and then back up the hills again. But the rewards are considerable.
Chukudus is a lifeline. I can pay for my children's education. Depending on what God has in store for me, I can make between 3,000 and 5,000 CFA francs a day.
That's $6 to $10 per day, a good income in this impoverished region which is still recovering from years of conflict. Part bicycle, part wheelbarrow, the Chukudu was invented here in Kimbumba in the 1970s. At first, they were only made of wood and extremely hard to maneuver. But over the years, the design has evolved, and thanks to craftsmen like Paulin, some machines now carry up to half a ton.
Before, we only used the core of the tree trunk. We had to grease it with palm oil just to be able to get it down off the hills and onto the main road. But today, we have added tires and a back brake.
Buying a Chukudu is a big investment. A sophisticated one can cost up to $100, but it also means job security for the 1,500 unionized drivers.
I created a business with 60 young men who work today with these Chukudus, and they work in Goma. And it helps them. It really helps them out to protect them from any problems.
A few years ago, a giant Chukudu-shaped statue was erected in central Goma, testament to the important role the Chukudus play in keeping goods rolling in this chaotic city of 1 million people.
The first hurricane of the Atlantic season has hit the North Carolina coast, a wet and windy spoiler of the July 4th holiday for thousands of Americans as authorities ordered them to evacuate exposed areas. Hurricane Arthur crossed the coast near Cape Lookout at the southern end of North Carolina's Outer Banks last night with maximum sustained winds of 160 kilometers per hour. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said this earned it Category 2 status on the 5-step Stafford-Simpson scale of hurricane intensity. Arthur is the first hurricane to hit the United States since the superstorm Sandy devastated parts of New York and New Jersey in October 2012 and caused $70 billion in estimated damage. North Carolina officials warned of life-threatening rip currents and a storm surge of up to 1.5 meters that could render the narrow 80-kilometer highway 12 connecting Hatteras Island to the mainland impassable. North Carolina was putting extra heavy equipment in place to remove sand and the overwash as soon as possible after Earth passes. Here are the Ramadan times for tomorrow. Fajr prayers will be at 3:58 a.m. and Maghrib prayers will be at 7:03 p.m. The latest weather bulletin issued by the Directorate General of Meteorology and Air Navigation stressed on the continuation of chances of accumulative clouds and scattered rainfall over the Hajar Mountains and its surrounding areas. The Governorate of Dakhliya witnessed moderate to heavy rainfall in the Wilaya of Al-Hamra and villages in Jabal Shams that caused wadis to their tributaries to overflow. The temperature in the center of the Wilaya decreased to reach 24 degrees. In the Governorate of North Batna, a number of villages in the Wilaya of As-Saham witnessed moderate rainfall that caused Wadi Shafan to overflow. The dust-raising wind led to some traffic accidents due to poor visibility. The Wilaya of Adama wa Atin and the governorates of North Sharqiya witnessed various intensities of rains accompanied by hails. In the Wilaya of Rostaq, in the governorate of South Batna witnessed heavy to moderate rainfall accompanied by active wind that caused wadis to overflow. According to the weather bulletin, there are chances of low cloud formation in the early morning on the coastal areas of the governorates of South Sharqiya and Worcester. Now for the general weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the governorate of Dhofar and nearby mountains with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear to partly cloudy skies with chances of scattered rain, occasionally thunderous, accompanied by gust wind and hails over parts of the Hajar Mountains during the afternoon. Winds will be southwesterly moderate to active along the coast of Arabian Sea, while it will be southeasterly light to moderate along the rest of the Sultanate. Seas along the coastal areas of Arabian Sea will be rough with a maximum wave height of 3.5 meters, and along the rest of the Sultan's coast it will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we enter tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. In recognition of Sultanate's efforts in spreading values of tolerance and peace, Brazil names a square in the city of Poço do Iguaçu the Sultanate of Oman. Israeli forces raid Al-Aqsa Mosque and fired tear gas on Palestinian worshippers. And 30 militants are killed in a battle with Iraqi forces when they try to raid Beiji oil refinery. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the studio and the newsroom, it's good night.